Welcome to teachmealla.com. In this video, we're going to show you how to change the front brake pads and rotors on this 2003 Honda Pilot EXL.
That's right. Now we're going to review with you the tools you'll need to do this job.
Need a jack, 2 jack stands, and 2 wheel chocks. Need some new front brake pads, which use ceramic, 2 new front rotors, some .3 brake fluid, some brake parts cleaner, some anti-seize lubricant, and high temp caliper grease. Hose clamp pliers, a screwdriver, a large C-clamp, thread lock, an impact driver, a ratchet with a 3/4 socket, a 12mm socket and ratchet, along with a 17mm socket and ratchet. A 10mm box end wrench, a torque wrench, a bungee cord, a brake bleeder kit, safety goggles, a shop light, and some shop towels, and a hammer. First, we'll apply the emergency brake, put the wheel chocks behind both rear tires, then we'll break the lugs loose on both front tires, starting with the passenger side. Then we're going to jack the vehicle up and place our jack stands in a safe location. Then we'll finish removing the lug nuts and remove both front tires. With the tire removed, we'll store the lug nuts on the wheel and slide the wheel up under the vehicle. This is for convenience and for safety. We'll do this for both front tires. Then we're going to start work on the passenger side. So we turn the front wheels to the passenger side so we can have easy access to the caliper. We'll use the hose clamp pliers to pinch our brake line, remove the dust cover, install our wrench onto the bleeder screw, install our bleeder kit, position our C-clamp, open the bleeder screw, compress the piston inside the caliper with our C-clamp. This will help us remove the caliper. Tighten up the bleeder screw, remove our C-clamp, remove our bleeder kit, our wrench, and reinstall the dust cover. Then we're going to remove the caliper guide pin bolts. Starting with the top, then going to the bottom, loosening them up. Once we have them both loose, we'll go ahead and remove the bolts and then remove the caliper. Then we're going to use our bungee cord to tie the caliper up and get it out of the way for right now. Then we're going to remove our brake pads. And now we're going to remove the caliper bracket bolts. These are pretty tight. Once you have them both loose, we'll remove them. Then remove the caliper mounting bracket. Before we can remove our rotor, we need to remove the rotor retaining screws. To do this, we use our impact driver and a hammer. Sometimes these can be a little stuck, so take your time. If your rotor does not come off easily after removing the screws, you can screw in 2 bolts into these holes and tighten it. As you tighten the bolts, the rotor will pop loose. Now we're ready to install our new rotor. Make sure you line up the holes for the rotor retaining screws with the holes in the new rotor. We install our rotor retaining screws, tighten them up. These don't have to be excessively tight. Then we're going to clean the rotor off with some brake parts cleaner and a clean rag. Remove the grease and oil from the new rotor on the front and the back. Now we're getting ready to reinstall our caliper mounting bracket. The first thing we do is apply thread lock to the caliper mounting bracket bolts. We slide our caliper mounting bracket back into place. Insert our top bolt and tighten it up by hand. Now we insert our bottom bolt. We'll tighten up with a ratchet. Then we're going to torque them to 80 foot-pounds. Now we're going to apply some anti-seize lubricant to the slides where the brake pads go in. This will let the brake pads slide smoothly within the caliper mounting bracket. We apply it to the front and the back on the top and the bottom. Then we're going to slide our brake pads into place, starting with the outer and then the inner. Then we're going to apply some high temperature caliper grease to the back of both brake pads. Then we're getting ready to install our caliper, so we apply a little thread lock to the caliper guide pin bolts. Then we're going to get ready to compress the piston in our caliper. First, remove the bungee cord, remove the dust cover, put our wrench on the bleeder screw, use our bleeder kit. We use one of the old brake pads to press against the piston. Use our C-clamp, positioning it. Open the bleeder screw and compress the piston until it's flush within the caliper. Tighten up our bleeder screw. Remove the C-clamp. Remove the bleeder kit. Remove our wrench and reinstall the dust cover. Then we can slide our caliper over the brake pads and install our caliper guide pin bolts. Tighten them up with a wrench. Then we torque them to 30 foot-pounds or your manufacturer's recommended specifications. Then we remove our hose clamp pliers and move to the other side. First, we're going to start by turning our wheel to the driver's side so we have easy access to the caliper. Install our hose clamp pliers on the brake line. Move our dust cover. Install our wrench on the bleeder screw. Install our brake bleeder kit. Open up the bleeder screw. Position our C-clamp and compress the piston. Once the piston is compressed, we'll tighten up the bleeder screw. Remove the bleeder kit. Move our wrench and reinstall our dust cover. Then we're going to loosen up the caliper guide pin bolts, starting with the top, then the bottom, Once we have them loose, we'll remove them. Then remove the caliper and tie it up out of the way with our bungee cord. Then remove our brake pads. And we'll remove our caliper mounting bolts. First we'll loosen them up, starting with the top and then the bottom. With the bolts removed, we'll remove the caliper mounting bracket. Use our impact driver to loosen up the rotor retaining screws. Sometimes these screws can be a little stubborn, but be careful not to round out the head of the screw. Just take your time. These will usually come right out. Then we'll slide our rotor off and slide our new rotor on. Make sure we have the rotor retaining screw holes lined up. Reinstall the retaining screws. Then we're going to clean the new rotor with our brake parts cleaner and a clean rag. Clean the front and the back. Then we're going to get ready to install our caliper mounting bracket. We apply thread lock to the caliper mounting bracket bolts. Slide the mounting bracket into place and install our bolts. And these torque to 80 foot-pounds. Then we're going to apply some anti-seize lubricant to the caliper slides. Then we're going to install our brake pads, starting with the outer and then the inner. Then we're going to apply some high temp caliper grease to the back of the brake pads. Then we're getting ready to install our caliper, so we put a little thread lock on the caliper guide pin bolts. Then we're going to get ready to compress the piston inside the caliper, so we remove the bungee cord. Remove the dust cover. Install our wrench on the bleeder screw. Use our bleeder kit. Position our C-clamp using an old brake pad to press against the piston. Loosen up the bleeder screw. We can press the piston with the C-clamp. Once it's flush within the caliper, we'll tighten up our bleeder screw. Remove our brake bleeder kit and install our dust cover. Then we're going to slide the caliper over the brake pads. And install our caliper guide pin bolts. Once we have these tight, we'll torque them to 30 foot-pounds. Now we remove our hose clamp pliers and get ready to bleed the brakes. We open the hood Remove the cap from the master cylinder, and if his brake fluid's a little low, we'll add as needed. Make sure you reinstall the cap on the master cylinder. And then we're going to start with the passenger side, so again we turn the wheels. We'll remove our dust cover, install our wrench, and install our bleeder kit. Have your partner inside the vehicle, depress the brake pedal one time, open up the bleeder screw, and tighten it back up. Once it's tight, release the brake pedal. Never release the brake pedal unless the bleeder screw is tight. Keep repeating this process until there's no more bubbles coming through the bleeder kit. Depress the pedal, open the valve, look for bubbles, tighten the valve, release the brake pedal, remove the bleeder kit, remove the wrench, reinstall our dust cover, and we'll move to the driver's side. Turn the wheels to the driver's side. Again, check the master cylinder, make sure there's plenty of fluid, and add as needed. Remove our dust cover, install our wrench, install our bleeder kit, depress the brake pedal, open the bleeder valve, close the bleeder valve, and release the brake pedal. Repeat this process until there's no more bubbles coming through the line of the brake bleeder kit. Once we're done, we remove the brake bleeder kit, make sure our valve is tight, we install the dust cover, straighten our wheels up. Again, we check our master cylinder. Now it's time to reinstall the tires. Slide your tire and wheel into place, install our lug nuts, snug them down. Remember to do this for both front tires. Once both front tires are installed, we'll jack up the vehicle and remove our jack stands. We'll lower the vehicle back onto the ground. With the vehicle back on the ground, we'll torque the lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds in a crisscross pattern. Do this for the passenger side and for the driver's side. And finally, we'll remove both wheel chocks.
Well, we hope this video will help you change the brake pads and rotors on your 2003 Honda Pilot EXL.
Send your comments, any comments you may have, to comments@teachmeall.com. And as always, thank you for visiting teachmeall.com and have a great day.